BEC puts a stop to millions of dollars in overtime. Find out how coming up.
COB students learn about the job market. We'll tell you more.
And how to take poop to make power. Find out more. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kishla Adderley.
And I'm Candino Knowles. As always, it's good to have you with us.
A number of cost-cutting measures at BEC expected to drive down bills for consumers and improve the corporation's financial position.
In fact, an initiative introduced a few months ago is already reaping dividends. Fern Carey has more.
The chairman of the Bahamas Electricity Corporation says there is a major decrease in the amount of overtime at that corporation. Excessive overtime at BEC continues to be a controversial issue with consumers, with the corporation paying out some $12 million a year or $1 million a month, according to Chairman Leslie Miller. However, Miller indicated that a new shift system implemented during the first 2 months of the year has resulted in overtime figures being reduced by $500,000.
In January, when we initiated a new program to insist that we cut overtime and insist that the managers be as sparingly as they can towards employees with this excess overtime as we take it to be, the figure increased to $774,000. With added pressure in February, the figure went to $474,000. So there was a decrease between January and February of some $300,000. It is the goal of this board and management that we keep our overtime at a minimum. And our goal for this year is really to keep the overtime around $300,000.
Accountability is another area the corporation is working to improve. Miller gave an example of 10 contract workers who were being paid some $700,000 a year in salaries.
Last week, Wednesday, in Parliament, I decided to add those figures up. I got the shock of my life. Some of those contractors' workers, the 10 contractors' workers were averaging $2,200 a week. One guy was pulling as much as $2,700 a week as a contracted worker.
And with BEC paying out some $6 million a year in medical insurance for employees, Miller says that will also change in the coming months.
The directors have decided in collaboration with management that effective either May or June, we will ask the employees to make a contribution of 25% of the overall cost. In other words, each person would contribute 25%, and BEC would pay 75%. With the pension fund, as well as the medical plan. Now you may ask, well,
now these cost-cutting measures will continue as the corporation moves to drive down costs and pass the savings on to consumers. Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
When it comes to the escalating crime problem in the country, Acting Deputy Chief of Missions at the U.S. Embassy, John Armstrong, says it's his government's obligation to forewarn Americans about possible threats to their safety. Last month, the U.S. State Department warned American visitors to stay away from the over-the-hill communities, especially after dark, in their annual crime and safety report. Armstrong says as crime continues to be a concern for his country, the warning to U.S. citizens living and visiting the Bahamas was in line with the warning given to Bahamians.
To be honest, I've been here for a year and a half. I've talked to lots of Bahamians, Bahamian government officials, all the ones I've mentioned earlier, whether it's the Prime Minister, whether it's Minister Notich, whether it's Commissioner Greenslade. I've talked to taxi drivers, people at the straw market on the street, at Super Value, and there's a concern in the country for crime. It would be strange not to see that reflected in what we ourselves say to our citizens. It is a precaution. Hopefully they'll be able to follow the advice, just as the Royal Bahamas Police Force warns Bahamians or suggests that they do certain things to avoid being a victim of crime, so too we've suggested the same things to our citizens.
But while the U.S. continues to be concerned about the high crime levels in this country, Armstrong commended Bahamian law enforcement agencies as a significant number of arrests have been made in the fight against drug and human trafficking.
Good. We've noted things that need to be improved, but in general, our cooperation, in my estimation, with Bahamas law enforcement is truly excellent. It's based on the OPAD agreement, which is something that was brought in many years ago. It's still the cornerstone of our cooperation. I mean, the results that we've seen in the first 3 months of Bahamas law enforcement having some significant arrests and busts, both where they've seized money and seized significant amounts of narcotics, is excellent. You know, that's if these things are coming through the Bahamas, the people who are trafficking them should know that they better look out. Bahamas law enforcement, the Bahamas Defense Force, is there to stop them.
Transport Minister Glenys Hanna-Martin says night flights are pending for 5 family islands, finally lifting the crippling daylight flying restrictions.
Now, she was addressing Parliament yesterday when she also made a push for women's rights proposals to take root. Here's Diane Thompson.
Minister of Transport and Aviation and member for Angliston, the Honourable Glenys Hanna-Martin, before addressing new projects in her ministry, expressed the ongoing discrimination Bahamian women face in their country. Hanna-Martin stated that while Parliament has committed to eliminate discrimination of all kinds against Bahamian women, it's time to follow through.
Most notably for me, we commemorated the 50th anniversary of women participating for the first time in 1962. In the result of a general election vote count. Yes. Today, women, albeit in relatively small numbers, 5 of the 38 to be exact, sit in this honorable house as representatives of the people. And so significant progress has been made. But Mr. Speaker, there's so much more ground to be covered. Mr. Speaker, we must continue to seek to eradicate the remnants of cultural bias against women in our social setting, and indeed, Mr. Speaker, even in this honorable house. Mr. Speaker, the voices of women must be empowered in our country and in the political realm, and in particular, in political organizations.
With respect to her ministry, Hanna-Martin said several family islands will get an economic boost by early 2014, when night flights will be introduced to 5 major islands.
We are preparing the groundwork for the commencement of night flights to 5 airports in the country, namely Marsh Harbor,
yes,
North Eleuthera,
yes,
Exuma,
yes,
Governors Harbor, yes, and San Salvador, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, we estimate the necessary works to be completed, we're hopeful, in the first quarter of next year. Speaker, I do not think I will have to elaborate, especially for those people who live in those communities, on the enormous potential this new paradigm will have on the economies of these islands.
Yes, sir.
Another project is the expansion of the yacht registry. Hanna-Martin also told members of a partnership with tourism.
My ministry, in conjunction with the Ministry of Tourism, is developing a strategic plan for the redevelopment of Prince George Dock. A comparative review has already begun of ports worldwide so as to determine the appropriate model for the Bahamas.
Hanna-Martin stated that there are ongoing talks with the United States about the Bahamas' airspace, which is currently controlled by the U.S., and who collects fees on this service. Dealing with this matter, she concluded, is critical. For the ZNS Network News, I'm Diane Thompson.
Deputy Prime Minister and member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador, the Honorable Philip Davis, says the sinkholes, areas which need excavation and filling, and the removal of electrical poles will mean a delay of the Airport Gateway project to September. The project was due to be complete this July.
Well, today, the Deputy Prime Minister explained 56 out of $71 million allotted for the Airport Gateway project has been spent. The project, which is 80% complete, Mr. Davis said is still in budget, and extensive use of Bahamian subcontractors has been made. Overall, he said the majority of workers on the Airport Gateway project are Bahamians. Deputy Prime Minister Davis also gave this update on the new Providence Road Improvement Project.
All corridors except for Blue Hill Road, Market Street, Robertson Road, Marathon Road, and sections of Prince Charles Drive have been taken over by the ministry. These remaining corridors have been put forward for taking over and are currently being considered by my ministry. The contractor's staff is now working along the various road corridors, addressing defects as well as damaged works. In addition, following the completion of walkthroughs for final inspection, the contractor has commenced to undertake accommodation works, as mentioned earlier, and that is landscaping, repairing damaged existing walls, driveways, car parks, tie-in to driveways, car parks, landscaping, and protection of the newly installed public infrastructure.
Minister of Tourism and Member of Parliament for West End and Bimini, the Honorable Obi Wilshcombe, addressed the House of Assembly during the continuation of his contribution to the midterm budget last evening.
Minister Wilshcombe said the Ministry of Tourism is aggressive in its efforts to market the country as a whole so that no island is left out. He confirmed that Nisha's market business is expanding.
We'll see Tom Joyner come here in a couple of weeks, and with him will be 1,500 passengers, and with them will be groups like Earth, Wind and Fire, Mr. Speaker. So they're coming to the Bahamas, and they're going to be enjoying this wonderful country. Radio 1 is soon going to make an announcement, and I want to thank Bishop Neil Ellis for this, because he's been working with them to ensure that there's a major event here in May. And that event will see 12 of the top religious performers out of the United States of America in the Bahamas, staging concerts and catering to some 1,500 or more visitors who will come with them. Look at Atlantis. Over the next several weeks, Atlantis will be the staging ground for a major golf tournament. First time ever in the Bahamas. The ladies' professional golf will be played in the Bahamas. That's significant, Mr. Speaker. Just think about the many homes. There are going to be 182 million homes, Mr. Speaker. Could you imagine that? Talking about our country every single day during the course of that tournament. All the great players are going to be here, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we also have the major soccer event that's going to take place at the sports stadium. I want to thank the minister responsible for sports, because he's been working very hard, sir. And that event is going to bring the Tottenham Hotspur, and also we're going to have the Reggae Boys out of Jamaica.
The Minister of Education, Science and Technology, Jerome Fitzgerald, says too many people have jumped to conclusions over the government's move to streamline costs, specifically at the College of the Bahamas.
Now, Minister Fitzgerald says the government is only moving to tighten its financial belt, eliminating waste wherever possible. During his recent communication to the budget debate in the House of Assembly, he explained that it's not and was never the government's intention to affect the quality or level of service being rendered at COB.
It is worth noting that the government's subvention to the College of Bahamas is presently $25 million, excluding capital. $18 million of that $25 million contributes to personal emoluments and allowances. The remaining $7 million goes towards travel, rent, utilities, printing, supplies, materials, and special financial transactions. One would appreciate that the proposed reduction would then come from the remaining $7 million of the government subvention. It's also worth noting that the total budget of the College of the Bahamas is some $46 million, of which the government contributes 56%. Therefore, the Ministry of Finance is essentially requesting $1.25 million in savings from operational efficiencies and $1.25 million from other cost savings. The Ministry of Finance nor the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology has absolutely no intention of making any reductions to the College of the Bahamas which will cause a reduction, quote, in the quality or level of services to the public, or any forced reduction in headcount.
In our first look at whether the cool weather will continue, meanwhile, outside of our studios, we have a temperature of 72 degrees under partly cloudy skies, your relative humidity at 50%, winds out of the north at 9 knots, your barometric pressure 1,018.7 millibars, that's 30.08 inches, and it is falling. But stay tuned, your temperatures around the Farming Islands, travel and boating forecast is still to come.
Well, ready, set, Carifta trials get ready to take off. That's coming up.
And the message to Bahamians from the leader of the Nation of Islam. The Bahamas Tonight continues after this.